So guys, welcome. This, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, is my first free training I'm hosting specifically about Shopify, specifically about growing your online business and not involving Kickstarter. So super pumped about this. Today, I'm going to be getting into really sharing how we've set up brands to hit 7 figures in a matter of months. And the strategies that we're going to be going through today are really going to be a mix of paid as well as organic methods. We had a great question from one of our members of our free community at Launch and Scale, where he's like, do I have to rely on ad spend for these methods? And absolutely not. So I'm really pumped to get into it. We have 7 things that we're going to get into today. So be sure to mute your phone, put all distractions away, and have something to take notes, whether that's in a notebook or a notepad online. A few things I will, just to focus, I'll be answering questions at the end, but if I happen to see one that is specific to what I'm asking, then I'll try to answer it as I go, but just to keep on track, keep on the agenda, make sure that you guys are quick in, quick out, get lots of value today. We're going to try to leave questions till the end. Okay, so I've allotted about 60 minutes. However, I'm looking to condense the training to about 30 to leave lots of time for you guys to ask your questions. So first thing I wanted to get into, if you're new here or you're not too familiar with my work and what we've done in the last 6 years, really 6 years ago, almost 7 in 2015, I had just started getting into e-commerce, and actually I had my break in e-commerce when I partnered up with the founder of a product that he wanted to bring this product to market, but didn't have any digital marketing experience. He knew he had a great product, a really good idea. He wanted to build a business, bringing his ideas to life because he's an inventor. And we end up partnering up together on this first launch, which was a crowdfunding campaign. And we, being complete newbies, baby Khierstyn, as I like to say, that first launch was an epic fail. We did not sell nearly enough that we needed to during that time to bring the product to market. So we ended up re-strategizing and taking a look at, okay, well, did it fail because the strategy was weak or was it the product? And so we decided to shift our strategy and actually bring that product to launch a second time. And that second launch, after we corrected and went in with a bit of experience, we went from a massive failure that first time to a launch that within 30 days brought us $598,000 in revenue and had more than 5,000 customers. And from that point, I've spent the last 5 years focusing on helping brands launch new products using crowdfunding, using Shopify, but also working with a handful of those products for the last few years to actually take them from a launch to really being a 7-figure company in multiple areas. So we have created 7-figure brands out of men's grooming spaces, in the men's grooming space, music tech, parenting products. We've done it in countless niches. And now what I focus on is launching and scaling custom products. So if you have a product that is unique, it's something that's like you're excited about it and you know that it offers a unique value in this world in terms of it's a spin on an existing product, or maybe it's a completely innovative product, but you've got something that you know is different that you are really excited about, then I'm really glad that you're here, because where you're sitting is just a couple of years behind what some of our other brands have started with. So what our brands have been able to do, whether you're Lisa, you're Chris, you're Tang, you're Eric, you're one of our case studies, the really amazing thing is where they got started, because very good chance if you're watching this, you are in the just beginning stages where you have a few sales under your belt, or maybe you're still in the idea phase. Let me know in the comments where you're at in your product, whether that's idea or you have started to ramp things up on your website. Let me know. So we have someone who Chris is someone who had a really great idea. He created a product out of a need in his own life, and he ended up using this as a way to fulfill his dream of becoming an entrepreneur, being able to quit his 9 to 5 and spend more time with his family on his terms. Then you have someone like Lisa, who designed a parenting product in the mother's breastfeeding space that ended up accidentally turning into an inventor and solving a product out of absolute frustration, out of the lack of options available to mothers at the time. Lisa never wanted to be an entrepreneur, but she accidentally stumbled on the idea for Sary's Chill, ended up disrupting the space, and now she hasn't looked back. She by still being a full-time lawyer, mother with 2 young kids, she's managed to grow a 7-figure empire, and that's just the beginning for Lisa. And now she loves being able to have financial freedom and flexibility. You have someone like Eric, who saw an existing fitness product, knew he could do it better, and reinvented it, and ended up launching a fitness brand that's doing really well. You have someone who is an Amazon seller that sees a need in a market, but wants to build a brand on a domain they own. No matter your reason for building your company, know that you're in the right place. And what I focus on doing with you is taking someone who has a big idea, big idea. They want to grow a business that gives them financial freedom and freedom of time to spend it as they will. And they're looking to build a brand. Building a brand comes down to building an audience off of Amazon that you completely own. Building a community comes down to having a connection with your customer, having a relationship with your customer, and a group of people who freaking love your product. And having a brand. I don't know if you saw our interview with the Exitpreneur founder, Joe Valley, but D2C brands sell for higher multiples than Amazon brands because of the community that they bring with it. So because of that, I'm really excited to say that the opportunity for building brands, for scaling an e-commerce business that serves you with a product you're freaking excited about, is what I live for. And it's what I've been helping founders do for over 5 years. So how about we get into it and see what are some practical things you could do today to start realizing that for yourself? Okay. So let's go through this. So today I have 7 points, 8 points that I'd like to cover. So I'm doing this without slides because frankly, I've learned I work better just off the cuff like this. So again, if you have questions, or you want me to dig in more in a certain area, let me know in the chat. So the very first thing I want to talk about is getting on the same page with the secret to building a 7-figure brand. Okay. So the secret to building a 7-figure brand quickly comes down to focusing on one shift. It's a mind shift from, instead of focusing on what are you selling? What's the product I'm selling? You're focusing on who are you selling to? Okay. So there are 2 ways to start a physical product company online. You can either look at the opportunity using Amazon, Jungle Scout, Helium 10, all that stuff, and look for a gap in the market that's underserved, that are like fad quick win products that you can then quickly create a white label product. You get in, you cash out quickly, and you end up going out constantly looking for new hot products to sell and quickly going after different niches, different and all that just to make a quick buck. Whereas the other way actually asks, who is the person I'm serving, and building a brand around that person. Knowing who you are helping is super important and will actually guide your product development a lot better, because what you will do is end up building a business faster when you're able to identify what's the niche you're selling in, what's the gateway, like the product you're really starting with. I sound like Ryan Moran here, but what's the gateway, the starting product you have. And then when you look at developing new products, instead of option 1, which is you identifying certain hot new trending topics in different niches, you end up asking yourself, okay, well, my customer in this space, what else can I create that makes your life better? And then whatever product you bring in to serve that person ends up being a win, because you're literally creating products off of a need that they have, and they're literally giving you feedback. So a really great example to see is we have Lisa, who has figured out her product development based on what her customers are struggling with. So she has her hero product, the Series Chill Breast Milk Chiller, that does a certain thing, but she noticed after talking to moms that they also struggle with these other things. So she designed new products to solve a need in their life. So she is building a company, she's building a brand because she is focusing on serving the working, busy mom, and then creating products that help make their life better. So instead of reinventing the wheel all the time, she is asking, who is the person I'm serving? So, okay, sorry about that. So that's the first thing you want to ask yourself. To build a brand, to build a company off of Amazon that you own, that to get away from selling commodities or white label products that end up competing only on price, you have to focus on selling to a person. So that is number one, is the secret to building a 7-figure brand. So the takeaway from that, number one, is ask yourself, who is the person that I am serving with my product or products? Okay, that is number one. Number two, once you've identified who your person is that you're focusing on, the next thing you want to do is figure out how to resonate your message with that target audience. So there's 2 points to this point number two. How is your offer, or how is your product unique to what is already available on the market? Good example, we are working, if you're in the sleep supplement space where you sell melatonin products or magnesium supplements or things to help you get to sleep faster. New trends have shown, and this is a popular trend now, so it's fine, but new trends have shown that people don't like habit-forming supplements. So because of that trend and because of certain values, a few brands may come out and say, you know what? I'm going to design a new product that isn't habit forming. Okay. Meaning they don't get addicted to sleep pills. When you ask anyone why they don't, if they struggle with sleep and they don't take sleep supplements or sleep pills, a lot of people don't want to get dependent on medication. So that was a big thing for me. So look to differentiate your product based on a need in the market. How is your product different? How does it serve your customer better or differently than what's currently available or things they might already be using? Okay. But the other part, write this down, because this is a brainstorming exercise that you'll want to do after this thing, is ask yourself, what makes your customer cry? Okay. This is a weird one, but if you ask yourself what makes your customer cry. And I got this from Rachel Peterson, who's a mentor of mine. And that's where the reason that people buy your product isn't because of features and benefits, it's actually because it serves a deeper psychological need in their life. So if we look at what makes someone cry, if we take the Jamstack guitar amplifier, for example, the reason that product came to market is because the founder was so frustrated of how hard it was to play electric guitar at a friend's place or to be able to take it to a park. Because to play electric guitar and have it sound half decent, he needed to bring amps and cables and wires, and it just ended up causing him to have his guitar collect dust. So when he brought the Jamstack to market to make it literally like a one clip in to be able to play electric guitar anywhere, that solved a big problem in his life. So why are his customers crying? His customers are crying because they really just want to play guitar more, and they aren't able to because of accessibility or because they don't have the right equipment, but Jamstack became an affordable solution. So that is something that goes into what makes your customer cry. What are they really struggling with that causes them to look for a solution, ergo your product? Okay, so that is point number two. And that's how you position your product by asking yourself really those two questions, like define how your product is unique, and AKA what's the result it gets in somebody's life. And number two, why is your customer crying? So that brings me to, I'll just go to the Q&A here. Okay. So number 3, the difference between building a brand versus building a listing. So I love Amazon. I don't want to come off anti-Amazon because I know a lot of people sell on Amazon. But the problem with selling only on Amazon now is that Amazon has 100% control of your listing, your customer data. You aren't easily able to, any new product launch, you can't easily upsell your existing customer list to new products you have because they'd have to come back to your listing. Like I did a whole TikTok video on this, but the problem with just being on Amazon now is that Amazon tends to have all the control. So what a lot of sellers are doing and what I recommend is that you definitely have Amazon as a sales channel, but you actually want to be building up a entity you own. Focus on building your house on Shopify or a domain that you own so that you're actually building up equity in something that you have direct access to customer data. You're able to build a community. You're able to build a relationship with your customers. And then using Amazon as a supplementary channel as opposed to your main channel. So when it comes to being intentional about building a brand versus building a listing means immediately you might want to go to Amazon because they've got a big customer base, but Amazon has its own problems because you lack control. But by you having full control and launching on your website, you can do what's known as building a brand. So building a brand has different definitions, but what I define as building a brand, and I think what's like common space and with brand builders is that you are able to bring a unique product to market where you are very results focused. You focus on improving your customer's life through your product, through the content you put out, through your mission, through partnerships. It's a lot bigger than just being a product. When people buy from a brand, they buy from a brand name because shopping with a brand name has a certain emotional identity with it. Without getting too deep into psychology, having a brand to me means building a community that you own. It means focusing on a problem that you want to solve in this world or in somebody's life and building a mission, building a product and a suite of products around that. Brands that I think of that I love is we have the Aura ring, we have Bulletproof, we have On It, we have the like Best Self Co, we have Monk Manual. We have these brands that we shop for because they offer a unique solution. Another great byproduct of having a brand is that with a brand, you can have certain guarantees. You stand behind your work. So you might have certain product guarantees or incentives for reorder or incentivizing your customers to shop with you. But having a brand means that they prefer your product for a different reason other than price. So I would love to know in the comments what you think having a brand is, or what is a brand versus a listing. On paper, it really comes down to having the commitment to owning the relationship with your customer, building a community that you own that loves your product, be it customers or people on your email list or people in a Facebook group, right? Or social media. It's just a community of people that freaking love your product. The other side, just having a listing means that you are just selling a commoditized product. Commoditized means there are dozens of competitors selling something pretty identical and you end up competing on price. So developing a brand means that you're able to develop a customer relationship, a community, preference to shop with you, and you're able to sell a product at a premium price. Selling at a premium price means you have better margins to scale your company, make great products, and overall have a business that does impact this world, if that's your mission. But when you're focusing on just selling the next white label product that doesn't have really great differentiation, and you're on Amazon, you end up competing on price because of all the competition, and you end up it's a race to the bottom on pricing. And if you end up completely discounting the products you have on Amazon, you end up not having the margins to be able to scale. So in order to have a healthy business, I vote for the brand side. So your action item for this is decide whether you want a listing or you would like to build a brand and build equity in something big and valuable. Okay. So that brings me to point number 4 is assuming you're here because you want to build a brand. If not, get out. I'm kidding. Or maybe whatever. But this brings me to my next point, which is building the keys to building a community. So point number 4, keys to building a community comes down to a brand. So first, what is a community? I think there's different definitions of community, but my definition is number 1, a community is any group of people that resides around a common theme. So it could be your email list is a community, your Instagram following is a community, your Facebook group is a community, your customer base is a community, your live events community, whatever mechanism that, or whatever channel you use to bring your people together is your version of a community. But ultimately what we look for is building an email list or building a literal community on Facebook, etc. But essentially it's about building a following around your brand of people that love your product and what you stand for. Okay, so that's what building or what a community is. So what that brings me to, I guess, number 5, which is the traffic equation. So when we look at building a brand online, there's 2 metrics we need to look at. We need to look at number 1, traffic, which is people, how many people come to your website. So any marketing initiatives you have, anytime you post on Instagram, TikTok, in your Facebook group, you send an email to your list, you talk to a friend and send them a website link, you speak at a pitch event, whatever that looks like, whenever you are doing marketing, that is a traffic. It's in the interest of generating traffic and getting people onto your website. Okay. But the second metric, which is my next point I'll get into soon, is the conversion equation. How well does your website convert visitors? So first off, I'd like to look at what the traffic equation is, because everyone wants to know, how do I get more people to my website? Because if you get more people to your website, you should get sales, right? Cool. So first thing, there's this cool diagram that I got from Rachel Peterson that I'm just going to repaint for you because I couldn't connect my iPad. And before that, take a sip of water. As a birthday gift like a few years ago, my stepmom got me this mug. It says my name on it. So hopefully I'll never forget that. But okay, let's do this. So this, this diagram was interesting because it's something that I was like, oh yeah, this happens, but it's cool to see it come together. So this is what Rachel Peterson calls the marketing ecosystem, where when it comes to marketing the business, most people's marketing kind of looks like this. It's just kind of all over the place. There's 1,000 different goals and nothing seems like a cohesive machine. So before we talk about how to get traffic to your website, I want to talk about how we get people to take action by talking about this marketing ecosystem. So the number 1 goal of all your marketing has to be to send your people to one spot. And the number 1 goal that you want them to take in the beginning is to go to your website and buy your product, or join your email list to buy your product, right? So when you post on Instagram, when you write a blog post, when you send an email to your list, when you pitch your product at a pitch competition, however you're talking about your product, you want to have one goal in mind, which is to send people back to your website to buy your product. So what that means is that in order to optimize the flow of traffic, you want to do things like look at your Instagram bio, look at the link you're sending people to in your blogs, etc., and send them to a single point to start. That's what's really misunderstood about, say, social media, because a lot of people think, I got to build my social media following. So they end up maybe sending all their traffic to Instagram. But actually the way that people funnel in, if you just like picture a diagram where this is the website, we need to, all of the traffic and marketing we do, which we'll be talking about, is to then get people back to the single point. Where social media comes into that is kind of like one of the ways to get people. So when we look at Instagram, this is such a bad diagram, whatever, you can use your imagination. But we have, like, for example, when you post on Instagram or you do a reel on Instagram and you get someone that sees that is not following you, the goal is then to get them to engage with your posts, follow you on Instagram, so that next time they see a post that has a call to action to check out the holiday offers, they then click the link in your bio, buys your product. Okay. You want to do the same thing with TikTok. You want to do the same thing with Pinterest, same thing with whatever social channels you're focused on. You want to get people to engage with your content, but ultimately the end goal is to take them from random observer to liking your stuff to following to then going to your website and taking action on something, even if that's just joining your email list and eventually becoming a customer. Okay. So there's different steps in the funnel we want to take people to, but it all comes down to looping people back into a singular point of focus, which is going to your website. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions there. I think we are good to go. So let's talk about what kind of traffic we bring to our website. Traffic comes down to, and I will actually give you kind of 3 daily things to do consistently that will help you move the needle. The one thing with coaching e-commerce brands, what constantly stumbles people, and let me know if you feel this too, but are you feeling a little overwhelmed by all the channels I've been talking about Pinterest and TikTok and LinkedIn and YouTube and emails and like all these ways to market your business? Do you feel overwhelmed with the options? Right? And I get that. That overwhelm stops so many people from trying because they're like, man, I don't have any idea where to start. So I want to simplify that for you today by giving you permission to keep it simple, because guess what? If you focus on just a couple of things consistently, that's where you're going to see the biggest growth versus focusing on 10 things. So I'd like to start by talking about your options for traffic and where to focus your efforts, but then give you what are the top 2 things that I would focus on consistently that are going to move the needle so that you can hopefully feel less overwhelmed and start to move ahead. So traffic, there's a few things to do. We have posting on social media. Okay. There's all kinds of different platforms. We'll just keep it social media right now. You have pitching retailers and wholesalers. You have pitching press, pitching magazines. You have pitching influencers. You have doing joint ventures with other brands to do giveaways or etc. You have emailing your list. You have doing paid ads, and in paid ads, there's a ton of different paid ad channels, right? So there's different things you can do. Here's where to start. I love approaching things because I'm a lazy person. So the way that I approach it is I like to look at highest leveraged activities. So if I could only do one thing a day, what I would focus my efforts on will be things that get me in front of other people's audiences. So instead of you focusing on 5 TikTok videos a day and slowly and painfully growing your following to get in front of more people, what you can do is look to partner up with somebody or work with a brand or get on a podcast that already has a bigger audience to help shortcut that. So when I look at getting in front of other people's audiences, what that means for me is, all right, so it means that I want to pitch retailers if that is a channel I want to get into, because retailers help promote and distribute your product and they come in bulk orders. I would focus on getting as much product in influencers' hands as possible because influencers have audiences. Okay. I would also focus on if this works for your brand, I would actually, of course, it's going to work on your brand. I would focus on like either pitching press. I would focus on getting interviewed on podcasts. I would focus on guest posting about the very issue that your product helps solve. Like a great example, one of the brands we represent right now is a sleep product for athletes. And what the founder is doing is she is pitching herself for collaborations to get on like YouTube channels and podcasts to tell her story about how, and so the result that they help people get is to promote better recovery and sleep through a certain proprietary thing. But when she talks about her story and her background and how she was able to help people get better sleep and perform better as athletes, she's able to show up on podcasts that have that same audience of athletes and talk about sleep and recovery and how it's the last thing that athletes think of, right? So or entrepreneurs or whatever. So there's different angles you can play with, but essentially getting in front of a wider audience is what you want to tap into first. Then after you look at other people's audiences, then I recommend posting on social media. Social media can be so overwhelming. And I think people underestimate how much work and how much time it takes to build up those first few thousands of followers. But the thing with social media, the big mistake you will make is focusing on too many platforms. I think that so many founders just don't show up because they either hate social media like I used to, or they just feel awkward and weird and like a fraud just posting stuff because they don't really know what to post. So I would say pick one channel to start with. If Instagram and taking photos seems like your jam, amazing. If you're better on video, maybe TikTok or Instagram Reels is going to be for you, or maybe YouTube is for you. Either way, pick a platform that resonates with you that you think is going to be easy for you to start showing up in. Okay. So pick one platform, don't pick 10. Okay. So there are two things. One is work with leverage audiences. Two is post on social media. The third thing is big mistake that brands make is so many brands focus on acquiring new customers. They're so focused on getting more traffic to their website. They're so focused on like getting new people in that they completely forget about the customers that have already shopped with them. So the third thing I want to focus on is how do you get your existing customers or your existing community to buy products? So don't forget about them. Okay. So if that is about pitching them an offer or upselling a new product that's coming in, don't forget about the low-hanging fruit that is already there. Okay. Because it is so much cheaper and easier to sell to an existing customer than it is to acquire a new one. Yet most people focus all their time on trying to find new people. So reap what you've sowed. Okay. So those are the top three. Give yourself permission to really simplify what you need to do for marketing and make a daily habit of showing up and doing those 2 or 3 things. So here's a good daily checklist if you want to just avoid overwhelm. And we're not even getting into paid ads yet. But if we look at what organic things you should be showing up and doing daily, give yourself a goal. What if a weekly goal for you is to pitch 5 retailers, 5 influencers, and do 5 social media posts a week, right? Which means you can take a day and knock all that out, or do 1 a day and you show up and do 3 pitches a day. And know that with the more time you put in, the more returns you get. But if you have a problem just getting started, or you want to make this stupid, simple, easy for you, make it really easy. Focus on 1 influencer a day, 1 retailer a day, 1 social media post a day, just like that. And then you can always get better. Big mistake you don't want to make is you don't want to just bite off more than you can chew in the beginning. You have a much better chance of success by showing up small and deliberately every single day, because you will get compound effects on small bite-sized changes. Okay. So within the traffic equation, we have paid ads. This is a whole other topic, and let me know if you'd like more information on this, but the day of building companies using 100% paid Facebook ads or paid media is gone. in my opinion. I think that the brands that are going to survive and the ones that are going to have a better relationship, lowest cost per acquisition, and just an overall healthy, profitable business come from a combination of organic and paid methods. So we see it in the brands that we rep, where when we have founders that are doing JVs with influencers, when we have founders that are focused on like a couple of social posts a week, and there's more engagement happening outside of Facebook, and it looks like there's just, the founders just doing more holistic marketing, the numbers are so much better and the audience is so much more engaged versus a business that just kind of goes in and their only presence is on paid Facebook advertising. I don't know if it's a trust thing, but businesses now need to have a healthy dose of both. Content, joint ventures, organic stuff happening, while also using that to improve their ads performance and getting in front of a wider audience. So that's what I have to say about paid ads. You can go far without paid ads, but I think that for you to get to 7 figures quickly, don't do it by just relying on paid advertising. That brings me to point number 6, which is the conversion equation. All right, we're doing good for time. Like always, I'm talking too much. That's okay. Is this helpful? Like, is this valuable for you? Man, I wish I could see your yes. Awesome. All right, let's go to the conversion equation. So conversions are fun. I had a sales call with someone who came in off TikTok and was like, hey, we got sales in the past because we got a big wholesale order, but we've been pushing marketing so much and we think we need to do more and we're not selling. And I was like, oh, okay. So you've been focusing all your time on traffic. How's your website converting? And so we went to their website and their website was converting at 0.25%. If you don't know what that is, it basically means that for every 100 people that come to your website, 0.25 were checking out. So the average industry conversion rate for your website needs to be above 2.5%. So they were 10 times less than industry average. So when they're coming in and saying like, we have tried everything, we're getting so much traffic to our site, but no one's buying, I was like, okay, well, you're just pulling the wrong lever in your business. They had a conversion problem, which meant they didn't actually have to spend more on ads. They didn't have to do more marketing. What they had to do was focus on knowing their numbers and improving their website conversion rate. Because just say, if they improve their website conversion rate to what it's supposed to be, that will be a 10x increase in the number of sales they're getting. So, if we do some basic math, if we say that every person spends $100 on their website, if they increase their conversions by 10x, that's an extra $100 times. Okay, math. Here we go. Not a math genius over here, and apparently can't use a calculator, but that's okay. But that's like a 10x increase in their sales, which over the course of 12 months, 10 years, is hundreds of thousands of dollars lost in opportunity because they're pulling the wrong lever in the business. So while everyone's so focused on traffic, sometimes traffic isn't your problem. Thank you, Archie, 10,000. See, Archie knows numbers. I don't, but that's okay. I think I'm good at other stuff, so let's stay in that lane. And I love the self-deprecating humor. So fun. But what I'm trying to say is that everyone thinks it's a marketing problem, but you got to know your numbers. So how to find your conversion rate. If you're on Shopify, it's going to be on the dashboard in your analytics section, and you'll scroll to your conversion rate over the last 14 or 30 days. Otherwise, if you have Google Analytics enabled, you want to make sure that you can see in Google Analytics what your conversion rate is and have a way to improve that. Cool. So make sure you're pulling the right lever. It's traffic and conversion for a reason. And sometimes a small change on your website can increase your sales without you having to increase your marketing, which is pretty cool. So we have number 7. So we have 2 more. Actually, that's really good. When you do marketing, when you look at your website conversion rate, you want to have a spreadsheet or a dashboard that we like to call it that tracks your KPIs or your numbers every single week. So that what I have is I have a dashboard for our team where we report on key metrics for both our business and our clients' businesses. In our clients' businesses, we do every week, we will report on website conversion rate, email open rate. We will report on sales, ROAS, and a few other metrics that every week and every month when we look at numbers, we can start to see trends and opportunities based on the data. Okay. So number 7 is know your numbers. Knowing your numbers comes down to what is happening on your website in terms of how your ads are performing, what kind of engagement you're getting on social media. If that's a metric that's important to track, keep it simple. Like pick like 5 to 7. Don't overcomplicate this, but pick the 5 to 7 numbers that you think are most important for you to see. And also tie that in with a weekly activity goal. So if after this call, you're like, yes, I'm going to go after my 5 influencers a week, my 5 retailers, and my 5 social media posts, then those should be metrics that you start to track and put that on the dashboard. And then week over week, you're not only accountable to your numbers, but you can start to see trends in sales. It's really cool to start seeing, like, if you go from 0 marketing to, oh, hey, I did 5 pitches this week. And within 2 to 3 weeks, you are starting to see your sales increase. And you start to see like what levers you pull increases sales. It's really cool to see, but you're never going to be able to see trends in your business if you don't start keeping track of your numbers. So do that. And the other thing too is you want to treat it like the scientific method in testing. And don't worry, it's not super boring, but it's cause effect relationships. So with me, I saw it on our dashboard where like we had like a few months ago, I started doing a lot more content on social media, and it was really interesting to track my like 4x increase in posting and how that in the very beginning, in like 2-3 weeks, that didn't impact our sales. But with increasing that posting over 2-3 months, our sales increased. So it's really cool to be able to see those trends and say like, oh, hey, cool. So if we're trying to do something to increase our sales right now, maybe posting on social media immediately won't yield returns because that's more of a long-term plan, but maybe doing an email broadcast to our list or posting an offer on social media with a direct call to action to buy, like maybe there are more direct things we can do to get in some sales. And it's really interesting to see those numbers and how they improve over time. So have a way to know your numbers, but also test and start to look for cause effect relationships in terms of what activities are yielding the results you want. Okay. So have a scientific brain and treat everything like an experiment. Number 8, compound interest. This is something I gotta just beat you over the head with, because one of the biggest mistakes, I say that a lot about stuff, but I really mean this one. Like one of the biggest reasons you are not where you want to be right now may be because you are stuck and you don't know what to focus on. But also when you start to take action on something, if you stick with, say, posting on Facebook for 2 weeks and you don't see the results you want, you don't get the followers you want, you quit. And you're like, well, that didn't work. I see it all the time with someone who comes to me and says, I tried Facebook ads, they didn't work. And I'm like, okay, how? And I start digging in. I'm like, how much did you spend? They're like, I spent $50 over 3 days. I got 20 clicks to my website and no one bought. So Facebook ads must be dead. I was like, oh, well, you didn't give it enough time. So the point I'm trying to make with compound interest is that small gains over time are going to make the biggest impact. So instead of committing to running a marathon, like just say you're completely out of shape and you're like, I have to overcompensate. So I am going to train and run my first marathon in 4 months, but I am a smoker right now. That's big changes you want to make to be able to go from like 0 to running 42 kilometers or 26.2 miles and having a training schedule that's 5 days a week requires you to quit smoking, probably do a diet overhaul, cut down on drinking, maybe questionable. Number 4, show up to the gym and get your miles in and do something you've never done before. That sounds to me like a difficult feat, definitely been done before, but maybe instead of you signing up to make all these big changes in the beginning, you just focus on small incremental gains. So what if you just focus this week on running for 5 minutes, and then next week it's running for 10 minutes, and then the week after is running for 20 minutes, and you do small gains. It seems counterintuitive, but I know from me, having tried to, like, New Year's resolutions, over 75% of people fail because they have a resolution list that's like, I want to change everything in my life, which means they don't follow through on it. So if you pick one habit and start small, you're going to find that you have more momentum and consistency and ability to show up because you're making it easier on yourself. If you don't believe me, or you want to learn more about habit psychology, there's a great book called Atomic Habits that you need to read that completely changed my perception of how you're able to show up consistently to do the hard stuff that we don't want to do. Let's face it, we are not natural marketers, and the behaviors and being able to show up and reach out and promote our product takes a lot of discipline and training to get into that. So make it easy on yourself, but know that even if me coming in and saying pitching 3 people a day or 15 a week seems too small, or to you, you're like, that's not going to grow my company. Okay, well, I'd rather see you show up and pitch 3 people a day than not do it at all. And that's the difference between going out of the gates too quickly versus slow and steady. So know that the actions you take consistently day in and day out will compound into big gains. And the work that you're doing today, the work that you're doing tomorrow, is going to be building your company 6 to 12 months from today. So even if something doesn't seem like it's working, if you are committed to growing your TikTok following, growing your email list, getting your Facebook ads to work, you've got to stick with it and keep trying, and know that in a few months' time, when it starts to work, that's when things will start to change for you. So if you have a problem with consistency, just remember compound interest. So the one last thing I'm going to leave it on, because that's my 8 points, is we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of great stuff. And look, if you are a brand that you are currently selling on your own website and you're frankly frustrated by your results so far, or you just feel overwhelmed, lost, and you want to be part of a community that gets you, gives you accountability, mentorship, guidance, and really helping you level up to that next point, we have an awesome online university mastermind program called Scale Mastermind. So if you want to learn more about that, or you just want to hop on a call and see what that's all about, and if it's a fit, what you can do is go to joinscalemastermind.com. Also email you a link out to this. And really, it's an awesome group of online sellers. We have people that are doing multiple 7 figures, and we have brands that are just starting in multiple niches. So it's like an amazing group. Yesterday, we just did a 2-hour-long training where I literally went through and built pitches for people and walked through the entire process of how to identify your perfect retailers, how to find contact information, and what exactly the pitch needs to look like to get the email open and get that order. That's just a handful of some of the stuff we do in this community, and I am excited.